everyone. Welcome to the Self-Care Rockstar Show, where each week I invite experts from around the world to share stories and information that will help you begin and continue your self-care journey. My goal is to encourage each of you to become self-care rock stars and not only fill your cup, but cause it to overflow. If you're interested in any courses or programs I'm currently offering, you can go to findsally.com and click on schedule a call or email me at sally@theselfcarerockstar.com. I would love to work with you. Today, I am excited to welcome to the Rockstar stage, Kym Glass. Kym is the author of Unshakeable Courage, and she is also the author with me in the Fearless Entrepreneur book. She's a consultant, a TEDx speaker, and a 5-time best-selling author. She also facilitates workshops and retreats. And today she's going to talk to us about Unshakable Courage. Kym, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. Why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about who you are, what you do, and maybe just share a little bit of your story.
Sure. Thank you, Sally. It's so great to see you. And thank you for having me on your show. So just a little bit about my story. I know what it feels like to live in fear. I was born and raised in a religious cult, and I escaped after 35 years to protect my daughter and future generations. And I saw that pattern of behavior starting with my daughter. And that's when I said, enough is enough. I can no longer live in fear. I refuse to live in fear. And if I don't change, nothing is going to change. And so that decision set me on a path of living my best life. You know, you talk about being a rock star and you talk about self-care. We're not taking care of ourselves when we're living in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to learn how to move through that fear with courage. And so that's what I speak and share about, to help men and women, but specifically women, recognize those irrational fears, face the reality. Is that fear even real that you're feeling? So that you can release it and live with power and do those things that you've always wanted to do, but we're maybe afraid to do it.
So what got you started? What were some of the first things you did when right after you made that decision to face these fears and to get out of that cult?
Yeah. So what I did, Sally, is I had little whispers all along the way, but my final wake up call and what I call my final whisper was the events that transpired on 9/11. As I was sitting there watching the TV, I remember vividly thinking, life is too short to be this miserable. And so that decision day was the big start of not accepting things that I had accepted before. I had matured in this environment and things were not aligning to what I once thought were happening. And I was now wasting time and I was losing time unless I did something differently. And so, I always say making a decision. Once you can get to the decision point, the path starts opening up for you. And that's exactly what happened to me. I started working toward my goal of being not just physically out of there, but also mentally out of there. And in less than 6 months, I was both physically out of there and also mentally out of there. Like there was no turning back. And so that was the goal that I had. I wanted to do it in a way that I was physically and mentally out of that. And I knew my first step was to be brave. And I'll just share with you, if you take the word brave, B is believe in yourself. R is to roadmap yourself away from any fear. The A is I had to believe in my own abilities and also learn new abilities to help me get away from that fear. The V is view. The only view that I could choose to focus on were the goals and dreams and the direction for me and my family. And then the E was expectations. I had to forget about everyone else's expectations of what I should be doing against what my higher self was calling me to do. And so from that point on, um, it spring, it was a springboard, and what I talk about in the word courage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's amazing. So, what are some other things that you can share with the audience, and things that you want to have them take away from your story?
Sure. I would share with you, there was a survey done almost 2 years ahead of the pandemic, and it stated that 84% of people live with an irrational fear that's keeping them awake at night and unable to achieve their goals and dreams. Can you imagine what that percentage is now with the pandemic and the after effects of the pandemic, and everyone operating as they are today? And so if you have that goal and that dream, that is what your focus is on outside of all the distractions. And so when I talk about the word courage, I talk about the 7 promises of courage, because these are things that are promised to you on the other side of that fear that's just holding us back. So the C is all about confidence. And I believe that is the foundation that everything else is built upon in your life toward your goals and your dreams. The O is ownership. You have to self-lead yourself in the path and direction of your goals and dreams. I call it getting in the driver's seat of your life. The U is unstoppable. Once you have that confidence, and once you are self-directing yourself outside of everybody else's opinions, approvals, any of those sort of distractions, then you begin operating in a flow. And then the R is all about relationships. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you listening to? Who are you getting that good energy from? And how are you building those relationships? Maybe in your business, surrounding yourself with a connected community. And that's exactly how we met, Sally. We met in a wonderful connected community of supportive women. And here we are today. The A is all about action. What actions are you taking every single day to move you toward your goal? The G is about gratitude. It is truly the gateway to anything that your heart and soul desires. And then the E is, once you have all those pieces together, it's all about empowered. What are you empowered to do and help other people from moving past your fear with courage?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, all of those things, we all need. You talked a little bit about our relationships and how we move, and then we move out into and out of fear, and how we interface with other people.
Yes.
And we see these other people, and I noticed too that all these people are just so afraid, and it's all this anxiety and stress and everything that's out there today. And you want to have a relationship with these people, but sometimes it's hard because they're so stressed, and and especially in today's world, it's the last, I don't know, 2 years have been crazy with that.
Yes.
So how would you help people that are dealing with this anxiety and this fear, and dealing with relationships with people who are at that, in that area too?
Sure. So in my experience, one of the hardest things for me, and probably why I was in that cult for so long, is because I had friends from the time I was a toddler. And I knew that if I'd left, those people would not be able to have a relationship with me. But I got to the point that I had to do something drastic for myself and for my family to protect my own daughter. And so the risk of losing those relationships became less than my cry and my goal of fearless freedom. And what I found on the other side of that is once I made a decision to leave, a lot of my friends started calling me. I didn't go to tell them anything, but they said, I know if you left, there's a reason. I need to talk to you. I need help. I'm living in fear. And less than 6 months after that, I actually, I actually created an event of all former members that I had met along my childhood all the way up to the current year. And over 250 people came.
Wow.
So I share that because, you know, if you're in a relationship or there's toxic relationship, you have to make a decision. Is this relationship worth me nurturing any longer? Or do I need to be surrounded by other people? What book can I tap into that I'm filling my cup so that my mental space and my self-care is taken care of? Because it is our priority. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't serve and help other people. And so I think that's the whole thing about when you're able to face the reality of what's really happening, things will start moving in your favor. And those relationships, they may drop off, but it also gives those people an opportunity to step up to the new you.
Now, this was your family that was in this too, right? It wasn't just you.
Yes.
So it was you stepping away not only from the cult, but stepping away from your family too.
Yes, my parents actually left ahead of me, and so I was moved out of my home at the age of 17 while they were away, and so there was about 8 to 10 years where I couldn't have any relationship with them out of fear that if someone in the community saw me, then I would be interrogated, questioned, counseled, and all of those things. And so, um, you know, it's really interesting. I was sharing the other day, it's really interesting that the things that I prayed for on that pew in that church happened. And you know, I prayed for reconciliation with my parents. I prayed that we would all be back together as a family. At the time, I thought maybe my parents would realize that they were wrong and would come back. But what I found by stepping out of that situation, when I finally was able to tell my parents, and thankfully they're still alive, and they were alive when I left, and it was just a great reconciliation. And it was like there was no love lost and there was no time lapse, if that makes sense. It was like we were just back together, and you know, we just it wasn't about pointing fingers at each other. It was about love, and that we had overcome, and that we were together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the power of relationships, you know, when you come from a place of love as opposed to judgment. You know, I didn't want to sit there and judge my parents. I had already known the so many years that they had gone through, and they knew that about me. And so I think if we come from a place of love and we come from a place of really wanting to not only help ourselves but also help others, that will transcend our relationships.
Yeah, so true. So true. I mean, anytime we're dealing with family, it's difficult to have that break, or um, to step away, or to nurture that relationship.
Yes, yes.
So you talked a little too about gratitude. And so what are some of your gratitude rituals or gratitude habits that you have? I mean, do you journal? Do you, do you just pray your gratitudes? What are some things that you do or that you encourage others to do as part of their gratitude rituals?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of both, two or three of those things. So when I wake up, I wake up in a thankful state, and I spend the first couple of minutes just inside myself, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to help other people. Thank you for my health today. Thank you for whatever goal that is that I'm working toward. Thank you for the ability um, to be surrounded by wonderful people. So I go through that for several minutes first thing in the morning. I also repeat that. It may be a little bit different at the evening, but it's thankful for this day. Thank you for whatever the weather is. I've had some technology issues the last couple of weeks, and I have some friends that have. And so every day and every night when I wake up, I've just decided technology is my friend, and I speak that. Technology is my friend. And sometimes when it's really challenging me, I'll just walk around the house and I'll say it usually 3 times. Technology is my friend. Technology is my friend. And even if that technology is not working, it's a different energy, and it can help me move through that technology issue that can get me so frustrated, like in so fast. And so I also do some journaling. I do some writing. I do a little bit of doodling. In the past, I've done a lot of scrapbooking because that was just so important, journaling about my family, journaling about my friends. And it was just good therapy,
Yeah.
just to step away and to, scrapbook with photos and journaling with my own handwriting. I love cursive writing. I'm still connected with my 3rd grade school teacher that was all about helping us do cursive writing. And I'm friend. Her daughter was a classmate of mine. Actually, just saw her at my class reunion a few weeks ago. And so I love to cursive write. And so I'll do that in journaling as well. So all of those things, it's just a time that I can pause and just be in the present moment with the things that are really important and the things that I'm working toward and the people that I'm surrounding myself with.
Yeah, there's something about putting something down on paper,
Yes.
that makes it happen. And speaking it, you talked about speaking it out in church. And there's something about it's saying the words or writing the words down that maybe it gets you focused and makes it kind of manifest in your life when you do that. Now, do you have a vision board or yeah, I've always had one. Mine,
I love the vision boards too. Yes.
Mine is a couple of years old, and almost everything on there, a lot of the stuff has come, so I need to redo it.
Yes.
But it's it's just so much fun, and it's fun to see, go back and look at ones from 4, 5, 6 years ago and say, wow, look at how far I've come.
Such a great reminder, because if you don't do that, it's harder to recollect in your mind. Oh, I don't feel like I'm moving that far. But when you look at your calendar or you look at your vision board, yes, I have made progress. And I have grown in this space of time. So I think it's like you said, it's such a great reminder to do that.
I think, I don't know about you, but like these last 2 years, I have been just growing immensely. And it's just like all these things are coming to me, and I'm part of these books, and I'm doing all kinds of different things that I wouldn't even have thought about doing 2 years ago. So, it's all of this new stuff that's coming about. And I think a lot of it is because of my mindset shift, and because of my vision and my using my imagination more.
Yeah,
Now
I love that creativeness.
Yeah. You had talked in the book that you had left your corporate job too, on top of all that, right? To start your own business.
Yes.
So now, No, go ahead.
Yes. So, yes, here's our book, Fearless Entrepreneurs. So, I was in the corporate world for over 20 years, worked in the telecom industry. After the events of 9/11 and everything that was shifting also with our family, the industry had a downturn. And in 2002, I went home to kind of be a stay-at-home mom, get us settled, moving from one house to another city, getting us all set up. But, you know, I had that done like in less than 2 months. And I was like, I've always worked. I've always been around people. I can't just sit here. Yes, I'm taking my daughter to school and I'm picking her up. And so I started facilitating networking events and just being out there, connecting with people, and grew a great organization. And many of those people I'm still connected with today. And so when I think about that, it's like, okay, the transition. What was I doing in corporate to know exactly what my schedule looked like? And so I share in the book how when you're shifting like that, you've got to book your calendar full. Where are you networking? Who are you calling? Who are you reaching out to? What project are you working on? Um, who do you need to know? Who needs to know you? And so really helping people figure out what that daily schedule needs to look like, so that they are consistently working toward their goal. And it doesn't matter how many hours a day that you're working it. If you're intentional about it, you will reach that goal. One of the things that I shared, not in this book, but another book, is I was in transition at one point, and uh, I was working with another client, but uh, through my journey, my health started just not being well, and I was like, you know what? I've got to find something that helps me feel better. I was having this mental fog. I wasn't sleeping well at night, and so I met up with a girlfriend of mine. She had invited me for a sushi lunch. I met her, and just out of the blue, I started talking about, I've just got to find something. I didn't know at the time, but she was the carrier and the answer to what I was looking for. And so I just started sharing this product because I had such a wonderful experience with it. And I only started sharing it once an hour a day, Monday through Friday. On my lunchtime working with this other client, I would drive down to Chick-fil-A. I had my laptop computer and I used their free Wi-Fi. And in less than 6 months, I had ended that project with that client, and I had built a 7-figure sales team. And so I share that with you because that's one intentional hour a day that you can make a difference. And you can do your work in the nooks and crannies of your day, like whatever that thing is that you want to do, you can do it with intention and achieve it.
Yeah. You mentioned that, and it's kind of like having that goal and then just being persistent and just keep going after it. Because I think so many people would have probably just done it maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And if it wasn't working out or wasn't the way that they wanted it to be, they would have just stopped doing it, or they would have done it every other day or whatever. But you made that goal, or that, and we're persistent in keeping up with it. So I commend you for that. That's really great. Now, you had said that you were a TEDx speaker.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? I'd love to hear that.
Yes, that was a fantastic experience. This is another thing when we're talking about relationships. So taking you back to the networking events that I was doing at the time, and I also do now. I had met a person that came as a guest to one of my events, and I found out, she has some great insights. And I said, I have an opportunity in a couple months for you to speak. Can you speak at my event and share? Because I think what you have to share would be of value. And she said, yes, I would love to do that. Well, 10 years later, she was the person that was planning the event. And it wasn't just her. I mean, she had a board that was helping her, but she reached out to me and she said, I know your story. You would be perfect on this TEDx stage. You know, I still had to go through all the application process and everything. There was over 250 applicants, and I was chosen one of 7 to share my story.
Wow.
And so that's when I really, on a big stage, shared my story. And the title of it was Break Free from Generational Patterns to Create Your Unlimited Future. And that was a remarkable time. My parents were in the audience. My sister was in the audience. I had longtime friends and family that were in the audience. And, you know, within 6 months of that, I was in CBS studio in Washington, D.C., sharing my Unshakable Courage book. And again, it's that other thing of that I mentioned earlier, when you make a decision, if you can get to the decision point away from the distractions and start taking action toward that goal, these things just started opening up and literally out of nowhere.
Yeah. So Unshakable Courage was your first book.
That was actually, I was in 3 collaboration books ahead of that. But
Okay.
it is my
Your
first book
solo.
with me sharing my story. Yes, just solo.
Yeah.
But I love the collaboration books because we get to meet people like Sally Green.
Isn't it great?
I love it.
I'm like, I don't ever want to, you know, I want to at one time do my own, but I'm just having so much fun, and meeting all these people in these books has been so much fun. What else did I have here? Why don't you tell us? Well, you talked a little bit about the workshops and the retreats that you do. You know, what else? So what's next for you? What's coming up?
So what's next for me? I have a couple of events. I'm waiting on the venue selection for live events. One's going to be in Houston, Texas. One's going to be in Dallas, Texas area. But my next biggest project that I'm working on is I'm all about soft skills. And for so many years and generations, you know, soft skills has kind of either been a mystery to people or it's been seen as a weakness. And yet, a lot of corporations, especially restaurants right now, are discovering how important soft skills are, that their employees are appreciated and that they're needed in a time as now specifically. And so I'm writing a book. It's called The ROI of Soft Skills. And so we're going to prove that, you know, soft skills do matter and they do transfer to the bottom line of your business. And so that's my next biggest project. I'm looking for collaborators that want to share what their favorite soft skill is or what has helped them in their business and how are they using that either with their employees or their customers.
So explain to me what soft skills are.
So when you think about soft skills, think about leadership, teamwork, communication, award and recognition. Those are creativity is a huge soft skill. As a matter of fact, within the last couple of years, it's actually moved up in ranking as one of the top 5 because people are looking for more innovative employees to hire and not the standard thinking inside the box, but creative ways in marketing or those sorts of things. So those are all in the realm of soft skills. Think about social skills. So you think about social skills, emotional intelligence, and those sorts of things. Kindness, those sorts of things all fall in the realm of soft skills.
Okay. All right. So is there anything else you want to share with our audience before we head out?
I would just say that I'm on a mission to help people break free from fear. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I'm here to help and support you in that mission. I often say yes and figure it out. Just say yes to yourself. You deserve it. and give yourself permission for the life and the goal that you deserve.
Yeah, I love that. We have Kym and Lanny here. Would either of you want to unmute? And do you have any questions for Kym tonight?
I do have a question on, my computer kind of bugged out when you were talking about church. I understand that's a church cult. Is that, did you elaborate on that, on the name of it, or you can't say?
It's actually still in operation today, but I will tell you it was a branch off of the Pentecostal faith.
Oh,
And
okay.
I had actually married into the family, so that I actually married their nephew. And so, yeah, but they've passed on, but they have other people that have taken it.
Now, when you talk about fear, were you fear for your life, your health, what kind of fear were you fearing?
Well, a lot of the fear, there were a couple of times that matter of fact, that was one of my wake up calls when I had the fear of, I'm scared for my life, like they're going to do something to me. And I remember sitting and thinking, why am I afraid of that? Why am I afraid of that? And when I talk about facing the reality, when I got real still with myself, I realized they're not going to do anything to me in that regard because they don't want the officials and police involved. And so, but I had been afraid, like, there were children that were being, they caused divorces with people. There were grandparents that weren't able to see their children. There were, like myself, I was not able to see my parents because they chose to leave. And so those were the fears, or the fear of what are they going to say about me if I don't say and do exactly what they want me to say, and so there was fear and uncertainty. And just like inside with the other members, they could turn you against one another with just one brief conversation. And we lived through that, I would say probably every 6 months for many, many, many years. It just circled back around. And they figured out a repeatable pattern that worked. And it worked on really good people that were there for a good reason. But it just took it just took a dark turn. And so that's kind of how the generations happened.
Yeah. Thanks. Kym, do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm just curious. How old was your daughter at that time?
She was 5.
Okay, so she probably doesn't have a whole lot to remember
She
about that
doesn't have
time.
a whole lot other than the protection of, we did let her know, if you're not with us and you see these people at the mall, you make sure that you're right beside the person that you're with and don't let go of them.
Right.
Because, we made sure that she knew what was going on and why we left. She was very, even at 5 years old, she understood the gist of that.
Oh, the basics. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like stranger danger.
Yeah,
you think
true.
stranger danger, and she knew about that. So we just kind of shared with her in that light, not to make her afraid, but to let her know that these are stranger danger people and to be cautious.
So they would have taken her?
They would have tried to talk to her for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, they're very interesting.
Very scary, really.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching something about the I forgot what they're called. The Christian Scientists, which are a much,
And
It's
yeah, a
really
lot of-
interesting how people can manipulate you emotionally and mentally.
Right.
And that's what they were really good at. And the interrogation, you know, like you are less than, or, you know, you follow their rules, or you're at risk of, you know, being kicked out, or, you know, members being told
Right.
lies about you that were not even true. So
Right.
I think for a lot of people that still is a big fear.
So they would tell you that maybe God wouldn't love you anymore.
Exactly. Well, yes, if you didn't do exactly what they said, you were just hellbound, you know. And like they had the power to do it. So it was a lot of that mental
mental abuse. Yeah.
and emotional abuse. And a
Yeah.
lot of bullying, you know, just the
Mm.
basic bullying. You know, October is National Bully Prevention Month. And so I'm doing a lot of speaking around that regard as well.
Yeah.
And the
Wow.
other thing too is, you know, that's so important. If I can just share from a children perspective, you know, those people whispered things in my ear that I thought my parents knew. And it took over 20 something years, 30 something years for me to share that with my parents, and they had absolutely no idea. So I think it's important, while we're talking about National Bully Prevention, I think it's so important that children need to understand, if another adult tells them something, they need to use their voice. If it's something that's confusing to them, makes them fearful, they need to let their parents or somebody know, somebody at school that's in authority, to let them know. Otherwise, you know, I mean, that's really how it started with me. And it just grew over time. And I just assumed that my parents knew these people were saying something to me. And it's not the case.
So
Wow.
was your husband in agreement with leaving them?
He actually was. Mhm. He actually was. And then 7 years later, we went through a divorce. And but you know, I'm just thankful that our family got out intact and all together. And my daughter's thriving, and she's getting married next month. And
Good.
so we have a lot to celebrate.
Mhm.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kym, for joining us this week. And we will see everyone next week on the Self Care Rockstar Show. Thank you, and
Awesome.
bye.
Thank you, Sally. It's great
Bye.
seeing everybody.